good.
All right, Sarah, we thought we'd start here because this is where I was raised, and actually where Mom lived when we first got married for a few months, or right before we got married. So, because we met at the nursing school right across there. But we're at Mama and Pop-Up's apartment. So it's second down there with a little bush. So we started there. There used to be a big tree right where this little tree is. That's where we did all our big cookouts for the family. So Pop-Up would bring his grill out over here, and we would sit out here for hours and hours and hours. So over in this corner, there was Pop-Up planted a fig tree where the air conditioners are, and it took up that whole square. It was about 15 foot tall over the windows, but they cut that down. So, and you've heard me talk about kick the can in the game. This is where we played kick the can games over here by these mailboxes and hid behind the bushes. And if you look way down there, I don't know if you can see those railings along that apartment building way down there. That's a stairwell that goes down, and that's where we played the famous game Pain in the Aim. So, alright, so we thought we'd start here, and then we're going to go over to the first apartment that Mom and I had. Okay, Sarah, this over my shoulder, right up here, is the first apartment that Mom and I had. So, we had a cat named Puddin', who loved to watch, and when you flushed the toilet, you had to make sure the bathroom door was closed, because he would come running in there and stand there because he liked to watch the water swirl in the toilet. So
we also had a really big fish tank, and he liked to watch the fish.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So, and this is where Mom made me a meal one time and asked me if I liked it, and I said, yeah, but it's not quite like my mom makes. And she threw it all away and said that if I wanted it that way, maybe I need to go there and eat. So I don't ever say that again. So
we have said it a couple more times about certain things, but
so that's where we were. This apartment always smelled like Filipino food because we had a Filipino family downstairs, and it just went throughout the apartment all the time. So I was living here when Mom and I got married. So matter of fact, that Sunday morning when I looked out the window here, you were living at home at the time with your mom and dad.
Yeah.
So, but it was just like a foot of snow on the ground. So I called Mom and asked her that morning, are we still doing this thing? And boy, she let me have it. So, because I mean, it was that bad. So, and you've heard about the big snow, 1980.
It was the blizzard.
Yeah. So.
This is Painter Street in Norfolk at the River Point Apartments. You wanted to know where it was?
Yeah. So Mama and Pop-Pop's apartment, you could get through by going around by that big gnarly tree back there, and we would have been back there, their apartment. That's where we used to go to eat. We would show up at 5 o'clock.
Just a coincidence.
Yeah. So, all right, and now we're going to head to Partridge Street for our first house. All right, now we are at Partridge Street. So the tan house there that you see, that's actually where we live. That porch was open. It was just a screen porch there. And then Mom and I lived there. We drank a lot of triple cola. Was it Triple Crown Cola?
No, just Triple Cola.
Which was the generic Pepsi. We were very, very poor.
It was the cheapest thing you could get. It was like 69 cents for a 2 liter, and we used to buy it by the case.
Yeah. And Sarah was born in this house. We were not in the house, but
we had Sarah when we were in this house.
So this is where you lived, Sarah.
And it didn't look this bad when we lived here.
No. I had guns, shotguns on the wall. So you could, when you look through the front door, you would see the guns.
On the rack. Yeah.
Our next door neighbor there in the white house with the purple door stole those guns one time when Mom and I decided not to go to church one day.
Yeah, we went to the beach instead.
Yeah, and then all the guns were gone. And then we felt bad and thought, okay, we shouldn't have skipped church. So we went to evening service to make up for it. And when we came back, the guns were back on the gun rack.
Yeah, and then I was not going to sleep in that house tonight because evidently someone could get in and out of our house easily. We didn't know at the time who took the guns.
Yeah, but the lady was an old alcoholic that lived in the White House. She's the one that stole the guns. We found out she had a key to the house because of the people that lived there before. And her and her boyfriend would get in fights, and he'd go driving off. She would lay on the floor, on the road here, and act like he run over her.
And then when he went around the corner, she'd hop up and run back in the house. So we thought she probably took it to try to scare her boyfriend with.
And a guy used to come by with his car, radio blaring, playing the Rubber Band Man song all the time. And Mom and I would laugh about that. So
this is Nana's house on Norview Avenue. It's the blue in there. It doesn't look anything like it used to look like. They've put siding on it, and the porch is not closed in anymore. And it looks like they got rid of a bunch of bushes and stuff where you couldn't see the backyard. So it looks nothing like it, but this is where Nana and Papa used to live, and we used to go there every Sunday for Sunday dinner and spent a lot of time there with them.
Especially pork loin dinner. That was a good one.
Yeah.
So, and she used to collect the rent at that house for all these houses around here.
Yep.
Okay, so we are at 1313 Bridle Creek Boulevard. It's that townhouse there on the corner, at the end of the row. When we moved in here, it was brand new. No one had ever moved in it yet. There was no fencing in the backyard. It was just pure dirt, no grass or anything at the time. We had a dog, Penny, at the time, who was a part collie. So she got out of the yard, and the animal control picked her up, and Mom went to go take care of the ticket because I didn't. And they actually sort of held her, put her in a room because they turned it into a failure to appear. That was not a good day for me. So, a lot of weird, creepy stuff. Like a bunch of our dishes and things got stolen out of the house. So I think the maintenance guy actually had a key to our house, so he would go in there and steal stuff. I remember one morning I woke up, it was really cold in the house, and I went downstairs, and the front door had was unlocked and completely open. So what else? Can you think of anything else about this house?
Sarah used to play out in the backyard, which was more like a field because there was no fence or anything. Well, she used to play in the back mud, put it that way, with some of the other neighborhood kids.
Yeah.
Joshua was maybe 18 months old or so when we lived here. Sarah was about 4, I guess. 4 years old. Yeah.
And across from these now is a big shopping center, but at the time it was just a big field.
Yeah.
So we didn't live here too long. So.
Okay, this house is on Ashaway Road, and when we lived here, Sarah was about 2, and then around when she was 2.5, that's when we had Joshua. So this is the house we lived in when he was born. The big brick house to the left, there was a family there that the lady lived with her mom, and she had her little boy was about 7 or 8, and they just thought Penny was wonderful, and the dog. And then we also had another dog named Senta, and she was a little dog that was a cross between a Cocker Spaniel and a Labrador. She was black, and the kid let her into their car. I don't think he meant to hurt her, but he let her jump in their car and shut the door and forgot about her, and she died because it was so hot. And then another time, I was working evening shift, I think, at the hospital or something, it seems like, and I guess Dad was taking Sarah for a walk in the stroller, and that kid wanted to push her, so he went running down the sidewalk with her in the stroller, and I don't know how it happened, but she got tipped over and dumped out and got all scraped up on her face and everything. And
there's a lake in the backyard, so the backyard sort of sloped down to the lake. It's basically a retention pond for all the runoff in the streets. But if you look through your photo albums, Sarah, I think you'll see I took you swimming in this runoff water.
Well, it wasn't dirty.
Yeah. And the fence that's there is actually, Mom and I built that fence. The front of the fence looks different, but the one in between is still there. It wasn't fenced at the time. And we had crazy neighbors here on the other side of this. You can see the houses actually share a wall.
Yeah, they called them twin homes. The garage's walls were together.
Yeah, and that was the Connors, and they were interesting.
They were kind of the hippie type, I think, with the natural remedies and stuff like that. She was a nurse too, I think.
Yeah.
And anyway, they were interesting.
Okay, we are coming up on Ashlon Terrace. This white house on the corner, you'll probably know for sure, Sarah, but this is Johnny Art's house. So you guys played with him a lot.
He was like a good friend of Joshua. He's the kid that used to dig little holes in his yard and put knives point side up in them so the mailman would kill himself on them when he tried to come across the yard. He was the one that did all kinds of really crazy things, but he's pretty much turned out to be a pretty nice guy now.
This is the house we lived in. That basketball hoop there over the garage is actually, I put that up for you guys. So, and then Mom and I built that deck on the front. It will never go anywhere. It is
very, very solid.
Very, very solid. So I was actually pretty proud of myself when we built that.
Yeah, it looks terrible now. That house looks terrible. We always had the yard looking really good, that everything looked fresh and new, and I don't know what happened to it, but
that was our first house that we bought. So and this house on the other side of the street,
across the street,
is the blue one. That's Fred's house. It was a Filipino guy. I don't know if he still lives there or not, but really, really nice guy. I know you probably remember Fred. He used to have cookouts all the time. He's the first one that showed me how to cook corn on the cob right on the grill.
Mm-hmm. And he's the one that had his nephew or somebody he had up on a really high ladder trimming branches off that tree for him, and he fell off the ladder onto the ground, and Fred was in the house looking through the phone book for the cheapest ambulance to call. And then I had to tell him, just call 911. It's free. They don't charge in Virginia Beach. So.
And then this next house here, the 3128. Yeah, you know that's Mandy's house. So this is where you guys, between these two houses, ran back and forth across the street constantly. And if you look in the backyard, you'll see the old garage. That's where y'all played all the time. So, all right. And
Sharif
Oh,
lived
yeah.
across the street here
back to the other side.
in the yellow house. Sharif lived there. Remember, his grandmother used to yell out the door for him. His Riri, yeah. And he was a good friend of Joshua's.
Why don't you just keep right on filming? And what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the next house, which is on Coach House Lane. So you remember, I think this 3113, that's Mitch's house. That
He's a friend of Josh.
yeah, actually it was this one, the brick one.
And when we moved into that house on Ashlawn, across from Mandy, Mandy and Josh were both 5. They both started kindergarten the year we moved into that house.
All right, so you remember these were real close houses, so we're getting ready to turn onto Coach House Lane now.
Yeah. This is where we moved here because when I was expecting the twins, we only had 3 bedrooms in the other house, and we had you in one room and Joshua and Zachary in the other room. Zachary was born when we lived at Ashlawn.
All right, switch to the other side here. Now,
So when we knew we were having twins, we didn't have any more room, so we had to get a bigger house, and that's when we moved to Coach House Lane.
all right, and this is Miss Evelyn's house, which is
No,
next.
it's not.
Oh,
It's up there next to our house.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, boy, forgot about that. Okay, this red brick and white house is Miss Evelyn's house, and Mr. Good just passed away. Yeah, this year. So, all right, and then there's the Coach House Lane house. Pretty tree.
The tree looks nice, but they
Yeah.
cut down our famous tree where we took pictures of all 5 of you together. A
Oh,
little
man.
tree. I don't know why they got rid of it, but yeah. And now it's kind of a pink salmon color, which I would not call an improvement from what we had. But anyway, there it is. That's where the twins were. When we had the twins, we lived there.
And actually, that basketball hoop is one we put up for you guys. So remember, it was adjustable, so you could adjust the height of it and stuff. So, and it used to have a garage on it, so they've converted the garage into a room now. And then that green shed in the back, we had that built and installed.
We put that fence up too.
Yeah. And we bought the house that one fence, the neighbor was on our land, and he had to take it all down and move it.
Yeah, it was about 3 feet over onto our land. He wasn't real happy, but he did it.
Yeah. And then we'll go ahead.
Yeah, right around the corner. If we go down the next street, that'll be Miss Elsie's house.
Yeah. And it's going to be out the other window. Well, here, stay out that one, because then there was Zachary's friend he used to play with all the time.
Gary.
Gary. You know, this is Gary's. I don't know if it's still his parents' house or not now.
Yeah, right
At
there
all.
on the corner.
And then on the other side of the street is Miss Evelyn's house.
No, it's Miss Elsie's house.
At 3012.
The White House. I think they still live there, definitely. But that's where, when I had Zachary and had to go back to work when he was 4 months old, she watched him from the time he was 4 months old right on through into kindergarten, because we had the twins, and it just was nice to have a break from all the kids at once sometimes, and he enjoyed being there with his friends and doing all the activities that she had.
And if you look 2 houses up, see the big brown house there? That is the Extreme Makeover, home makeover house
Yeah, it
that
was
they built.
on one of the shows that they had. This is the one they did, and it still looks good. Actually, I'm surprised because the neighborhood is not real well kept all the time. But that still looks good.
Okay. This is Bethune Drive. So if you look straight down the cone line there, that is where Mandy's house is. And this very light blue house with the stonework is Bethune Drive. That's where we lived. It didn't look like that then, didn't have the stones. And that's where the car almost ran into the house one day because somebody was drunk or something. And how old were they at that house?
Sarah was about 5. She started kindergarten when we lived there, so Josh was about 3.
Yeah, and we were only there maybe 2 years or so. Obviously, you know this is Grandma's house. We did about 3 or 4 months we had to live with them after we left Ashaway Lane. So, and you're familiar with the house, so how old were they there?
Joshua was about 4 months old, and so Sarah was 2.5, almost 3, I guess. We stayed with them. Where the den is where we were living because that was a garage.
This is our house we lived in for a while at Wright Lane. So this is out in Hilltop, way out there where all those shopping centers are, off of First Colonial Road. So this is the house where we almost froze to death one night because it was so cold. We ran out of oil and we all huddled in the bedroom with an electric heater, but it got down to about 40 degrees, I think. So, and how old were they, Lori?
Josh was about 9 months, so Sarah would have been around 3 here. And yeah, we put y'all in your little blanket footy sleepers, and I don't think you guys got cold at all.
And the backyard of that house has just almost all windows on the back of the house that overlooks the backyard. So it was a pretty interesting house, actually. And you could see the carport and the shed there also. So, by this time, Sarah, I guess you've seen the first part of this video. So you've seen everything from Mama and Pop-Up's apartment and all through that. So we just thought we'd try to fill in some gaps. I think we told you a little bit about the apartment and Puddin, our cat. But you weren't born until we were at the Partridge Street house, the ghetto house that it looked now. I promise you, it didn't look that way when we were there. It was
None of the houses looked like that when we lived in them. None of them.
Yeah.
They all looked better.
that was a little scary. Just going to take the picture, get the video of the house, but. When we were at that house, we had, Mom and I were still doing college career Bible studies for Talbot Park Church at that house. And I think while we were there, that's when we decided to go to First Assembly also. We started going out there. So at First Assembly,
I think she was a little older when we went out there.
Yeah. Because you were about 8 when we were going to First Assembly, and you sang your spontaneous song in the youth group there at First Assembly. We didn't get to hear it. They told us about it later at the youth group.
I think it was Sunday school, and she was about 8 years old, so she would have been too young for you.
We were at Partridge Street. Mom used to walk to Nana's house every day with you.
Well, before I even had you, when I was pregnant, I would walk over there every day for lunch, eat with Nana and Papa, and then watch soap operas. And then after I had you, she put a playpen in the living room so we could still come over and eat lunch and watch soap operas. I really enjoyed doing that with them.
And we were super poor. I used to take the bus to work downtown, so I was working down at the bank back then. We bought triple cola, everything generic. So that was an interesting time. So by the time we get to the next house, I felt like we were rich into the big house. And that was at Ashaway. And that's where they had the drainage ditch in the back that I used to take you swimming in on a little floaty inner tube type thing.
It looked like a lake. It sounds disgusting when he says drainage ditch, but it looked like a little lake.
Yeah. So we didn't stay there long. Then I think we mentioned then we moved from there to your mom and dad's house. And we only spent about 3 months there. So
Joshua was a little baby, like maybe 3 or 4 months old.
yeah. Then we moved out to Wright Lane, out of Hilltop. We went to Wright Lane. It was funny because I remembered that house as a huge house, 1 story with a big slanted roof, and I just remembered it being huge with a huge front yard and backyard, and when I got there this week to do the filmage, it's little. It's not that big at all. But we didn't have a lot of money there either. We ran out of oil one night in the middle of winter, and it was extremely cold. And we put you and Joshua in the bedroom with us, and we had a little space heater that ran. And I think it probably it seemed like it got 40 degrees in the bedroom that night. It was so cold.
But you guys were in your fuzzy blanket sleepers, and I don't think you guys got cold.
No, you didn't cry or anything, but that was the coldest I think we'd ever been inside of a house.
You were about 4 when we moved to Bridal Creek, so.
Yeah. And Bridal Creek was the brand new townhouse off of Farrell Parkway, Indian River Road area. And we were a block from Lynn Haven Parkway, but they hadn't really cut it the whole way through. We just had a dirt yard, and it was dirt field across the street, which is now a big shopping center. So we really didn't stay there that long either. So.
And then we went to Bethune Drive.
Yep, Bethune. So that's just
The same street Mandy lives on.
yeah. I'm gonna say it's probably about 10 houses down from where Mandy is. So you've seen that house in the film. It doesn't look anything really like I remember it, but I'm pretty sure that is the house. That's where you and Josh found firecrackers to play with underneath the sink.
No, they were, I don't know if they got them out of my purse or what, but they were running around in the backyard. We got firecrackers, we got firecrackers. And I'm like, what in the world are they talking about? Well, you showed them to me, and they were tampons that you were running around the yard with. So I just hope none of the neighbors saw that. That was also the house that somebody drove their car into our yard and hit the corner of our house.
Oh yeah. And then one night in the middle of the night, about 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody was on the back porch at the house banging on the door, let me in, let me in, let me in. Some guy that was drunk, didn't know where he was, and thought it was his friend's house or something. So a lot of weird stuff like that happened.
Everywhere we go.
That is a house where we had a babysitter that used to come to the house and babysit you and Josh. And
you terrorized her.
yeah, you terrorized the woman to where she called me in tears and said she couldn't do it anymore. And I could hear you in the background telling Josh, you don't have to do anything she says. She's not our mother. She's not our mother. And she was threatening to leave right then. So I had to rush home from work and get there before she left. So, and that's where you and Josh did the baby powder thing.
Oh my goodness.
Where?
No, that was
that house.
That was at
No.
Ash Lawn.
No, that was at Bethune. I had to open the window there, and put the fan in there. But it was a big baby powder bottle, not just a regular one, and you had emptied almost the whole thing in there. It was just
Squeezing it,
Yeah.
making it go out, spray out in the room. You came out looking like both of you came out of the cloud of your bedroom and walked into the hallway with white faces like clown makeup.
Yeah.
All I could see was your eyes. It was funny.
And then that's the same house also. I choked on frosted mini wheats and couldn't hardly breathe and had to call 911. And actually, Joshua had to get on the phone.
No, it was Sarah.
No, I think it was Joshua.
Joshua was only 4 years old. It was Sarah.
That's what made it so remarkable.
She was 5 or 6.
So-
no, Sarah.
But anyway, I made it through. The paramedics were very impressed with whichever one of you it was. About how calm you were and everything. They ended up not having to come to the house. So we left. We bought our first house on Coach House Lane.
No, we bought our first house on Ashlawn
Ashlawn.
Terrace,
Yes, that's what I meant.
across from Mandy's house.
So, and I think you got a good memory of that. That's where you and Mandy really connected. And
And that's when, well, I guess it was, Mandy was 4 and 4, and Josh was 4 when we moved in, and the following school year they both started kindergarten together.
yeah. And that's where you and Mandy and all the kids got together and surprised us one night with a song that y'all wanted to sing for us. And they sang the My Ding-a-Ling song on the back porch to us. Yeah.
Don't even remember that.
Yeah. So,
Blocked it out in my mind. We used to go over Mandy's house, or they would come over our house. We do that like every weekend. We do dinner together, and all the kids would play, and
we'd
or
have,
sit on the porch and have coffee and let you guys play.
we'd have Janus potatoes.
Yeah, that's
That's
where
where
I
they started.
learned how to make them.
And Fred taught me how to grill corn on the cob in the husk on the grill.
Mhm.
And his nephew fell off the ladder there and broke his arm. And they were from the
I
tree.
don't know if he broke his arm, but he couldn't move.
Yeah.
And Fred was in the house going through the yellow pages trying to find the cheapest ambulance. And I had to tell him to call the 911 because it's free in Virginia Beach.
And that's where you and Mom freaked out because you thought the house was possessed because the sewing machine was starting on its own. And you were convinced, so you left the house. And then I found out it was one of the Christmas presents, a radio-controlled car.
That Dad insisted on putting batteries in before we even gave it to the person. Because couldn't just wrap the batteries with it, had to put it in the car.
Yeah.
So I guess the remote control from the TV or something was making it start up, and that was what it sounded like, was the sewing machine.
And that's the house where we were going to just repair, we were going to put some wallpaper up in one of the bathrooms, the middle bathroom. And then when I started working on that, we found that the wall was wet. So I had to tear that out, and then I kept finding more rotten wood, and Mom had left to go somewhere and came back a few hours later, and I had both bathrooms tore up. And I was standing on the ground underneath the house in the bathroom in our bedroom because I had to take the whole floor out and start over. So that
How
was
did the middle bathroom end up being in our bathroom?
because there was a water leak in the piping in the big bathroom, but the only way to get to it was go to the bathroom on the other side of the wall.
Mhm.
So that house has the deck that will be there forever, the way we
It's
built
still
it.
there.
Yeah. So And then we went to Coach House Lane. So,
Right before Jacob and Aaron were born. We moved in April 1st and they were born April 29th. So
yeah. And you probably got a good memory of that house in Plaza.
actually, before we go on to that, at Ashlawn, that's where we were when Zachary was born.
Oh, yeah.
And he shared a room with Josh. His crib was in there with Josh, with Josh's bed.
Yeah. And that's when we were there. That's when Mom had her foot surgery. And we had just started going to what? And we were going to Lansdowne Community at that time, and they used to bring food all the time because I think it was fairly apparent that you guys would have starved to death if they hadn't.
And that's the foot surgery that I had on both feet, that I was home in the bed and was wondering how I was going to get up and go in the bathroom by myself. And Dad told me that you, with your 8-year-old little scrawny, skinny self, was going to help me get up out of bed and keep me from falling and to take me in the bathroom.
And that proved
And
to
he
be
left.
so.
He left and went to work. No, I basically crawled to the bathroom.
So anyway,
Good times.
Yeah.
Good times.
All right, so we went to Coach House after that.
We were there for 9 years at Coach House.
Yeah. So we bought Coach House for about $79,000.
No. Okay. Ashlawn was $68,000. That was our first house. Coach House we bought for $91,500.
Yeah. And we basically doubled our money there. And then we moved out to Chesapeake, to Great Bridge from there. So Sarah, the intent on this, we were just wanted to do something different. I hope you see this as more different. But the older we get, the more we realize. I don't know if we don't start documenting these kind of stories and things, they're just going to be forgotten. When the more I talk about it, the more I realize the things that maybe I've never told you or never mentioned to you, and I want to make sure you know them, and that Trinity and Curtis and everybody, we know where we came from and what we went through. So hopefully we'll start documenting. I wish we had done this. I would have loved to have had my mom and dad and your mom and dad do this, and probably need to do that sometime. So I know I'm going to think of a bunch of stuff probably to tell you right after we turn this off.
We'll have to just tell you when you call to talk about it. And we add more stuff.
So we love you. I am, and we are so proud of you for what you've been through, for what you've done with the the kids. I don't know how you do it all, Sarah. You're amazing, and I just can't stop talking about you. Just how strong you are, and your determination, and you are a real mama bear when it comes to the kids. There is no stronger advocate for her children than you are. So I wish you weren't so far away. But I understand, and sounds like you're very comfortable out there, and you found a happy place in the small town that you're in. So I like hearing the stories. Hopefully one day Mom and I will be able to come out there and see what it's really like. But we'll probably come in the summertime. So, all right. We love you.
Love you.
Bye.
simple